Looking at the alphabet sheet reminded me of the fact that not much has changed in the education curricula in Africa. Some decades back, I was taught out of a similar alphabet sheet. And because of that, I struggled for years. I struggled to reconcile my reality with the formal education I received. I had identity crisis. I looked down on my reality. I looked at my ancestry. I looked at my lineage with disrespect. I had very little patience for what my life had to offer around me. Why? A is for apple. A is for apple. A is for apple, is for that child in that part of the world where apples grow wild. Who has an apple in her lunch bag? Who goes to the grocery store with her mom and sees red, green, yellow, apples of all shapes and colors and sizes? And so introducing education to this child with an alphabet sheet like this fulfills one of the major functions of education, which is to introduce the learner to an appreciation of the learner's environment and a curiosity to explore more in order to add value. In my own case, when and where I grew up in Africa, apple was an exotic fruit. 2-3 times a year, I could get some yellowish apples with brown dots, signifying thousands of miles traveled, warehouses stored in to get to me. I grew up in the city to very financially, comfortable parents, so it was my dignified reality. Exactly the same way cassava fufu or ugali would not regularly feature in an American, Chinese, or Indian diet. Apples didn't count as part of my reality. So what this leads to me, introducing education to me with A is for apple, made education an abstraction. It made it something out of my reach, a foreign concept, a phenomenon for which I would have to constantly and perpetually seek the validation of those it belonged to for me to make progress within it and with it. That was tough for a child. It would be tough for anyone. As I grew up and I advanced academically, my reality was further separated from my education. In history, I was taught that the Scottish explorer, Mungo Park, discovered the Niger River. And so it bothered me. My great-great-grandparents grew up quite close to the edge of the Niger River. And, it took someone to travel thousands of miles from Europe to discover a river right under their nose? No. What did they do with their time? Playing board games, roasting fresh yams, fighting tribal wars. I just knew my education was preparing me to go somewhere else and practice and give to another environment that it belonged to. It was not for my environment where I grew up. And this continued, this philosophy undergirded my studies all through the time I studied in Africa. It took a lot of experiences and some studies for me to begin to have a change of mindset. And I will share a couple of the remarkable ones with us. I was in the United States in Washington, D.C., studying towards my doctorate. And I got this consultancy position with the World Bank Africa region. And so I remember one day, my boss, we were having a conversation about, on some project. And he mentioned a particular World Bank project, a large-scale irrigation project that cost millions of dollars in Niger Republic that was faltering sustainably. He said this project wasn't so sustainable, and he bothered those that instituted the whole package. But then he mentioned a particular project, a particular traditional irrigation method that was hugely successful in the same Niger Republic where the World Bank project was failing. And that got me thinking. And so I did further research, and I found out about TASA. TASA is a traditional irrigation method where 20 to 30 centimeter wide and 20 to 30 centimeter deep holes are dug across a field to be cultivated. And then a small dam is constructed around the field. And then crops are planted across the surface area. What happens is that when rain falls, the holes are able to store the water and appropriate it to the extent that the plant needs, the water. The plant can only assimilate as much water as needed until harvest time. Niger is 75% scorched desert. So this is something that is a life or death situation, and it's been used for centuries. In an experiment that was conducted, a plot of land, two similar plots of land, were used in the experiment, and one plot of land did not have the TASA technique on it, similar plots. The other one had TASA technique constructed on it. Then similar grains of millet also were planted on both plots. During harvest time, the plot of land without TASA technique yielded 11 kilograms of millet per hectare. The plot of land with TASA technique yielded 553 kilograms of millet per hectare. I looked at the research, and I looked at myself. I said, I studied agriculture for 12 years, from primary to senior 6, as we say in East Africa, SS3 in West Africa, or 12th grade. No one ever taught me of any form of traditional African knowledge of cultivation, of harvesting, of anything that will work in modern times and actually succeed where something imported from the West would struggle, to succeed. So it was Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, former president of Tanzania, who said that you cannot develop people. People will have to develop themselves. I agree with Mwalimu. I am convinced that Africa's further transformation, Africa's advancement, rests simply in the acknowledgement, validation, and mainstreaming of Africa's own traditional, authentic, original, indigenous knowledge in education, in research, in policymaking, and across sectors. This is not going to be easy for Africa. It's not going to be easy for a people used to being told how to think, what to do, how to go about it. A people long subjected to the intellectual guidance and direction of others, be it the colonial masters, aid industry, or international news media. But it is a task that we have to do to make progress. I am strengthened by the words of Joseph Shabalala, founder of the South African choral group, Ladysmith Black Mambazo. He said that the task ahead of us can never, ever be greater than the power within us. We can do it. We can unlearn looking down on ourselves. We can learn to place value on our reality and our knowledge. Thank you, Asante San. Thank you.